All right, let's get right into it. There is a massive revolution happening right now, but it's not one you can see on the news. It's happening silently, in the background of global trade. And it's basically a showdown between centuries-old paper and a few elegant lines of code. And just to wrap your head around the scale we're talking about, think about this for a second. A single one of those giant container ships out on the ocean is basically a floating economy. We're talking billions of dollars in value, everything from the phone you're holding to the food in your kitchen. The numbers are just staggering. So here's the crazy part, the paradox that's been gumming up the works for decades. With all this incredible technology, the one document that actually proves you own all that stuff, the legal title, has been, until just now, a physical piece of paper, literally flown around the world in a bag. It's like using a steam engine to power a spaceship. And this right here is the main character of our story. It's called the Bill of Lading. For hundreds of years, it's been the absolute key to global commerce. It's a receipt, it's a contract, and most importantly, it's the title to the goods. If you physically held this piece of paper, you owned the cargo. Simple as that. It was the linchpin. But it's also been a huge, huge bottleneck. You see, this one little document creates a surprising amount of chaos. First off, it's slow. It can take up to 5 days to fly it somewhere while the ship is already halfway across the ocean. It's also super risky. Paper gets lost, it can be forged, fraud is a real problem. And all that risk means you have to hire expensive middlemen, banks and lawyers, just to act as trusted go-betweens. It's just a fragile system for a multi-trillion-dollar industry. What this all boils down to is a problem of trust, right? How does a factory manager in Vietnam know for sure that she's going to get paid when her container finally arrives in Germany? For centuries, the answer was a messy web of banks and this physical paper. But that's slow, it's expensive, and it's inefficient. The goal has to be to find a way to create trust automatically, digitally. And that brings us to the solution. And what's so cool about it is that it's actually based on a really simple concept. I want you to think about a vending machine, but instead of dispensing snacks, it's handling multi-million-dollar deals. The tech behind this is called a smart contract. So what is it? Well, it's just a computer program that lives on a blockchain, which is just a super secure shared digital notebook that nobody can tamper with. The contract itself is an agreement where the rules are written directly into the code. It's just like the vending machine. You put the money in, the machine verifies it, and the snack comes out. There's no cashier, no middleman needed.
And at its heart, the logic is incredibly simple. It's just an if-then statement. If a specific condition is met and verified, then a specific action is automatically triggered. There's no room for debate, no he said, she said. The code is the final word.
Okay, so that's the theory, but let's see how this actually works out in the real world. We're going to take this idea of a smart contract and see how it completely changes the game for a container ship on a long journey. So let's make this real. Imagine we have a refrigerated container, a reefer, full of something perishable, maybe frozen shrimp. It's leaving a factory in Vietnam and heading to a big grocery store chain in Germany. And the stakes here are really high, because if that container gets too warm at any point, the entire shipment is ruined. So instead of a stack of papers, every single step of this journey becomes a digital stamp. It's a new block of information that gets locked into that secure blockchain. The container arrives at the port. Bam, a new block. It gets loaded onto the ship. Bam, another block. This creates a perfect, unchangeable, and totally transparent timeline that everyone involved can see and trust in real time. So what happened to our old friend, the Bill of Lading? Well, it's been transformed into a digital token. The second the factory is ready to hand over ownership, it's done. A digital signature is all it takes. So forget about those 5-day courier flights. The legal title to millions of dollars of goods now zips across the planet in milliseconds. And here's where it gets really clever. Our container has a small Internet of Things sensor inside, an IoT sensor, that's constantly tracking the temperature. And this little sensor is talking directly to our smart contract, feeding it data in real time. This data becomes our verifiable condition. And there it is, the if-then logic in action. The smart contract has this one simple, unbreakable rule baked into its code. If that sensor can prove the temperature never went above -4 degrees Celsius for the whole trip, then the money for the shipment is automatically released to the factory in Vietnam. No phone calls, no emails, no bank approvals. It just happens. The final digital stamp happens when the container's GPS confirms it has arrived at the port in Germany. The smart contract sees this. It checks that the cold chain was maintained. It verifies ownership was transferred. And click, it executes the payment. Trust was achieved automatically. Not through people and paperwork, but through data and code. I mean, this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? The difference is night and day. We go from a system that's vulnerable to tampering to one that's cryptographically secure. We go from needing expensive middlemen to a trustless system where the code is the trust. We're swapping out slow, manual, paper-based processes for something that is real-time, automated, and instant. It's a total game changer. Now, of course, this all sounds a little too good to be true, right? It's fair to be skeptical. I mean, what happens when we give this much power and control over to a completely automated system? What if the code has a mistake? And that is the $10 million question, isn't it? If we're automating trust, what happens if there's a bug? We've all had our computers crash, so could a simple typo in a smart contract accidentally send a massive payment to the wrong person or reject a shipment that was perfectly fine?
And let's be clear, the challenges are absolutely real. Trying to plug this brand new tech into ancient port and logistics systems, that's incredibly complicated. Then you've got questions about scale. Can it handle thousands of shipments at once? What if hackers find a flaw in the code itself? Not to mention the energy costs of some blockchains. And maybe the biggest question of all, in a system where everyone shares data, who's really in control of it? These are not easy problems to solve.
But even with all those hurdles, the writing is on the wall. The future is paperless. This revolution is already happening, and its impact is going to be felt far beyond just shipping containers. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really a story about logistics. It's about a fundamental shift in how human beings establish trust and exchange value. This is the blueprint for how you build trust between total strangers, anywhere in the world, without needing a big, powerful institution in the middle. What we're really watching is trust itself being transformed. The kind of trust that used to come from a fancy piece of paper with a wax seal, or a lawyer's signature, or a bank's guarantee. That was slow, it was expensive, it was fragile. That's being replaced by a new kind of trust, one that's instant, incredibly efficient, and built on the cold, hard certainty of math. And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. The bill of lading is just one domino. Think about all the other pieces of paper that our world runs on. Your house deed, your college diploma, stock certificates, legal agreements, all of it. If code is replacing the courier, if trust itself is becoming automated, what part of our world gets revolutionized next? What happens when human agreement is no longer a negotiation, but a computation?